Hi, I'm Beatrice Go and welcome to Rappler Talk. Today we are here with Gilas Pilipinas head coach Yeng Guiao, and he'll be talking to us about our preparations for the FIBA World Cup qualifiers fifth window. So, hello Coach Yeng and welcome to Rappler.
Hello, thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, so a few days na lang before the fifth window commences on November 30, which is this Friday. Kamusta naman lahat ng tune-up games, yung players?
We're winding up our preparations. No? Just last night we played our last tune-up game against Lebanon. Earlier we played against Jordan. Of course, we're trying to polish up on our execution. We're still having some problems though, but we have a few days to clean up our execution. Friday's the game, so it's about 3 or 4 more days of preparation. And I'm pretty sure that we can be ready by Friday.
Yeah. And so first you went up against Jordan, then Lebanon. What's your assessment naman on the tune-up game?
Well, we won 1 game, we lost 3, but I was pretty much satisfied. I know that we can still improve. No, the room for improvement is really big, but I guess it's the learnings, it's the lessons that we learned from this experience that are going to be really important in our preparation. No? First of all, it's really different from the PBA brand of game. It's very physical. No? They allow a lot of physical contact, and I think that's our first adjustment. No? We must be able to execute under pressure, and it's not the regular pressure that these players are playing against in the PBA. It's a lot more than that. So there needs to be not just a physical adjustment, but a mental adjustment on the part of the players. No? So these are smart players. These are the best players that we have in the country. So I think they understand that, and I'm sure they'll be prepared to do that by Friday. Second is we're still trying to get that kind of cohesion that we need. No? Moving the ball around, getting our spacing right, getting our timing right. Medyo ano pa ron, medyo nangangapa pa yung mga ibang players, especially those players who are used to their own systems. Now, when they come and play for the national team, you have to momentarily abandon no, yung habits mo that you formed with your mother teams and adapt to the new system. So what we're trying to do is trying to keep it as simple as we can so that that adjustment becomes a little easier for the players.
So you were saying that these are the best players that you fielded into your national team pool. And how was it like na finally you get to work with Junmar Fajardo? Matagal mo na sinasabi na you really wanted to work with him.
Well, it's really a privilege, no? Especially now that you have a deeper knowledge, no, of who these guys really are on the personal level, and at the same time you get to understand also the styles, no, that they play from a point of view, not just opposing them, but coaching them this time. No? There's also the challenge of adapting, as I said earlier, adapting these players with the skill set that they have into our system, no? Into the system that we employ for the national team. No? So, I'm pretty sure also that with a few days left, they'll be able to catch on. No? Medyo dito sa tune-up games namin, I still feel that they get kind of lost sometimes, that their timing is not yet perfect. So we're going to get to that. You know, when you play international games, you don't have a second chance. You play 1 game and that's it. So we play Kazakhstan on November 30, and it's not like a best of 3 situation or a best of 5 situation. So you must be able to play your best at that point. So if we had a little bit more time, I won't really be worried. No? But I'm a little worried because we only have 3 or 4 days left. No? But I still trust that these guys are high IQ players and they'll be able to adapt in time on Friday.
Yes. And si Junmar, he's actually one of the national team mainstays na. But then, it's the first time playing in your system.
Yeah.
But does it help that the SMB core is also with you?
It helps a lot, actually. No? They're familiar with each other. Actually, nung game namin sa Jordan, I think I fielded 5 of them, no, without me consciously knowing that there were 5 San Miguel players inside the court. No? So they have, of course, that natural cohesion, no, brought about by the time they've been together. But you know, it's not just the San Miguel group. They have to adapt to different players being inserted at different times. No? But if I really want to go to something that's familiar to all of them, I can always have that 5-man group of San Miguel people. But hindi yan mangyayari madalas, no? And I have to be able to exploit, no, the talents of the other players and not just the San Miguel players. So that's the challenge, but I'm pretty sure that the guys are up to it.
And aside from Junmar, you're also working with so much height in your pool. Si
Yeah.
Japet's there, si Ian's there, and Greg Slaughter's also there. So, kamusta naman yung going against these Middle Eastern teams nung tune-out?
Si Ian already begged off, no? So Ian is undergoing minor therapy, no? Also, he's preparing for the finals of the PBA. Greg's there, very healthy. Si Junmar's also healthy. So we have the size, no? Definitely with this team. But what we're trying to do also is maximize not just the size, but some quickness with it, no? Because these guys are going to play with guys who might be bigger than they are. No? Nakita natin sila, malaki sila. No, but when they play internationally, the guys are even bigger than they are, and they're even more athletic than they are. No, so what happens is the advantage they have when they play in the PBA is no longer present. Kasi sa PBA, ilan lang sila malaki. Pagdating mo sa international, everybody is big and good. No? So you have to raise the level of your game to be able to cope up or to be able to really help your team. No? So that's the challenge also being posed to these guys is, yes, you're big, but when you play somebody as big as you are, maybe even bigger, who's stronger and quicker, then you have to work a little harder.
Yung sa Iran, may mga NBA producers.
May mga NBA players din sila ron. No? So yun, matetest natin yung galing ng mga players natin.
For your pool naman, you also got the services of the veterans, L.A. Tenorio and si Arwin Santos. How have they helped the team here?
Arwin, we're converting Arwin into a 3. No? He used to play a 4. So we're trying to get some size into the guard position at number 3. Also, we anticipate that the best player of Iran is coming, si Nika Barami. So we need somebody to defend itong si Barami. So we got Troy and Arwin, and we're going to have to choose one between them, no, to be in the final lineup against Iran. No? So at least meron tayong options dun sa ano na yon. So of course, Gabe is always going to be there. No? Gabe Norwood has had experience guarding Nika Barami. But after Gabe, we have to have somebody with the size and the quickness. So ang candidate doon si Arwin at saka si Troy, no. LA naman, just his veteran smarts, just his leadership and his ability to control the tempo and execute from a point guard position, no. Of course, pagdating naman sa depensa, medyo disadvantage sa international game si LA because of his size, no. But he compensates for that with his intelligence, no, with his creativity, with his quickness. So I feel he has a really good chance to make the final 12 also.
And then contrasting the veterans naman, may mga young cadets tayo, si Richie and si Kai, Batang Gilas Stars. So kumusta naman sila?
Okay naman sila, no. Si Richie is playing not at the college level where he's really coming from, no, he's playing at the level of the professionals. No? So, Kai, at 16 years old, I see him in practice and he's able to hold his own against also the veterans. No? So these are the future of Philippine basketball. We invest in them this early so that they can learn and be mentored by the veterans, and also prepare them physically and mentally so that they can be the leaders, no, of the future national team. I'm still giving them a small chance to make the final 12, but our purpose really in putting them in the pool is to invest into the future of Philippine basketball.
But then si Kai, did he only play in yesterday's game? Or
Yeah, Kai played 6 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, against Lebanon, and he held his own. He made 2 points. He attempted to dunk over the biggest player of Lebanon. He was fouled. But you know, he's not intimidated. No, I think that's a good thing about Kai. No, he's the youngest player playing now on court, and he has the most potential. And the good thing about him is he's mentally tough. No, at 16 years old, he doesn't mind banging. He doesn't mind challenging big guys. But also, what he needs is his body needs to mature. No, medyo payat siya, medyo wala pa siyang muscles. Of course, that's the body of a 16-year-old, but he's 7'1". No? But mentally, he's tougher than any 16-year-old I've seen.
Coach, is this the first time you worked with someone like Kai na in his teens, he's already 7'1", pero you are looking to develop him like yung sa physical niya?
Yeah, it's my first time because guys like Kai are very rare. No? That's why, looking into the future, I think Kai can be our first legitimate NBA player na Filipino. No? So, we're doing this also maybe just to accelerate his development. No? And maybe we can see Kai play in the NBA in 3 to 4 years. No? Who knows? But so far, he's our best bet to make the NBA at this point.
And then, Coach naman, over health ng mga players, okay naman?
Okay naman tayo. We're healthy so far. No? Knock on wood. But I know the guys are a little tired because we practice every day. And as I said, international play is really very physical. No? But we're still trying to pace them and give them some rests in between. No? What we'll do also is on November 30, or before November 30 or November 29, we are already going to gather them together and stay probably in a hotel close to the venue so that they do not need to travel through the traffic to get to practice. No? So that's one way also of trying to preserve these guys, no? And keeping them fresh.
Yeah. And since most of them are PBA players, naging factor din ba yung tapos na yung tatlong conferences? It's already at the end of the year.
We're very thankful to the PBA because now PBA play is suspended. No? They're already in the finals. No? Right after the window, the finals is going to start. No? So that's really a big favor from the PBA, suspending their games, no? Even if it's the finals, so that we can focus on this window. No? So we're very thankful to Commissioner Willie Marshall, to the PBA board, to the owners especially, and to the SBP, no, for coordinating all of this. Now we can focus. No? Now we can focus for the next week or so on our attempt to make the World Cup. If we win these 2 games, I think we have 1 foot inside the World Cup.
Yeah, so may pressure talaga dun, no? Kasi we have to win 2 games in order to stay at third on
Yes,
Group F.
yes. No.
Yeah.
We have to win these next 2 games to stay at third. And even if Japan wins their 2 games also, which also is happening almost at the same time, no, that we're playing our 2 games, we'll still be ahead of Japan. But if we lose and Japan wins, we'll be in trouble. No? So that's why we really need to win these home games that we play.
And 4 days na lang before November 30, do you already have a 12-man lineup in mind?
We have, I think, last night, we discussed this with the coaching staff. We have about 9 or 10. No, the last 3 slots are still up for grabs. So we will decide that by maybe Wednesday night because we have to submit the lineup by Thursday. And, of course, Friday is game time. No? So meron pang mga ilang araw to decide on the last 3 slots. But I still cannot name the exact players at this point. So we still want them to keep practicing hard and to keep fighting for those slots.
And then when we talk about, now let's talk about our opponents naman, Kazakhstan and Iran. Yung Kazakhstan, is this the same Kazakhstan team that we faced in Asian Games? Would you know?
Probably the same. No, if there's going to be some changes, maybe they'll change 2 or 3 players, but basically the same. I think they still have the same coach. No? We beat them in the Asian Games, but that's a totally different situation now. No? Nagulat natin sila sa Asian Games, but now they've scouted us. No, I think we beat them by a huge margin in the Asian Games. Pero now, they'll be more ready. This team has height. They're very rugged, and they have really good shooters. They just had a bad night when we played them in the Asian Games. Minalas lang sila, sinuwerte tayo. So, when we play them on the 30th, they'll be more ready and they'll be more determined. No? So that's going to be a harder game. I don't think we're going to beat them as big a margin as we did when we beat them in the Asian Games. Yung Iran naman, we've always had problems with Iran. Basically because they have size, they have NBA players, they have been together as a team for a really long time. Tayo, 2 weeks pa lang halos. No? But this team has been playing. When I coached the national team in 2009, the core of this team was were already playing in 2009. No? So can you imagine, they've been together almost 9 or 10 years. And that's how well they know each other. Tayo, we just put together our team 2 weeks before the tournament. So that's a really big advantage that Iran has, which is these guys play at European level basketball. So when they are not being put together as a national team, these guys are professional players around Europe. So yung level nila is a little less than the NBA. So when they bring them together, and they bring them together really early, and they bring them together every year, that's why they have cohesion, then they're really hard to beat. No? And Iran is one of the teams that really has a chance to beat China and Australia. No? Australia is number 10 in the world, so it's world class. But Iran usually will have a chance against Australia. No? So it's a tough match, but I think playing it home court is a really big advantage for us. So baka matsambahan natin yung Iran.
And then, so knowing Iran na yung core na yun for, like you said, ilang years na.
Ilang years na sila magkasama.
But then, like looking back, would you say that si former NBA player natin, si Andray Blatche, would he have been vital pa rin in this team going against Iran ulit?
We really took a big risk in having Blatche sit out this window. Of course, we're not discounting the fact that he can still be available for the next window, which is in February. But sumugal ako dun sa mga big men natin. And also, what we will do is use Christian Stanhardinger as our naturalized player. And Christian has been playing well in the Asian Games and in the 4th window. If you look at his stats, actually his stats were better than the stats of Andray Blatche. But Andray Blatche is still Andray Blatche. He brings with him his credentials of having played a lot of years in the NBA. But I chose to I chose to take that risk. The problem also with Andray is he hasn't been playing competitive basketball prior to this window. So if you bring him in, we really don't know what kind of shape he is in. And that's been always a problem with Andray Blatche. But at least with Christian Stanhardinger, we know he's there, we know he's healthy, we know he's in shape, we know he's played well with his team from the Asian Games onward. So the risk is worth taking.
Si Andray naman, have you talked to him? Kasi the last time we talked, diba, na medyo he kind of felt a bit
I'm
bad
not
about
really in touch with Andray, but our manager, our team manager is in touch with him and with his agent. No? I think he understands the situation. So he's just there. He's going to wait until the next window for the call, no? When we will bring him in.
Yeah. And then, like, going back pala sa tune-up game, so Coach Yeng, medyo nagkaroon tayo ng sagutan sa
I think lang yon, no? Normal lang yon, no? In the heat of the battle, especially if it's very physical, every coach wants really to protect their own players. No? I was protecting my players and he was protecting his. No? So it's really just understandable. Sometimes you get into each other's nerves, but after the game that should be over and done with. No? So you move on and you plan out your next move and you try to put that behind you.
Yeah. Looking back, looking back and thinking about the heat of the moment, would you have still done the same? Like,
Yeah, of course. No, wala ka namang regrets because sometimes you have to do those things to send a message. Sometimes you have to do those things to fire up your team. And those things also are a way to bond your team together. No? You're going to battle and they have to know that you are going to watch each other's back and you're going to be there for each other. So it's really just a way to solidify the camaraderie, consolidate your forces and be focused on your objective.
And then itong brand mo na Fiery Mentor, this is something that you brought along all these years since nung Powerade pa, no?
Well, yeah, you don't really try to consciously do that, but it's your personality, it's what naturally comes out. Sometimes you try to control it, especially after the brawl with the Australian team. No? We're being constantly reminded by our bosses that we don't want to do the same thing, we don't want to repeat the same thing. We're under probation from the FIBA. So, good boys tayo muna for now, at least. So, we're trying to do that because we're trying to prevent another occurrence of what happened against Australia. And we learned our lessons from that.
And then, Coach Yeng, your first national team coach, national team coach stint was in 2009 for Powerade Pilipinas. What was the biggest learning that you picked up from there that you're applying now?
From 2009 up to now, well, number one, a lot have changed. No? The players are very athletic, no? In so short a time. Actually, magagaling na sila noon. They're very athletic then. No? But younger players who are being developed now with the modern training systems, they're very strong at a young age. They're very quick at a young age. They mature a lot quicker. And we have to keep up with that. One thing I learned is, yes, right now we have the size, but it's not just size per se. You cannot just have size per se. No? You have to have players who are big and smart, big and athletic, big and with experience. So that's what we're trying to do with our team right now. No? Second is, from 2009 up to now, in 2009, we did not have naturalized players. No. The lesson is almost all countries now have naturalized players. So if you don't have a naturalized player, you're at a disadvantage playing all the rest of the teams. Before, Korea and Japan, they were so nationalistic. They did not want naturalized players. Now, even Korea and Japan, they have naturalized players. So, tayo, ganun din, no? But it's not just having also a naturalized player. You want a naturalized player who is going to be dominant for you. No? So, kukuha ka na rin lang ng naturalized player. No? Kumuha ka na ng magiging dominant and who will perform the role that you need most for the team. So, the other thing is determining that role. No? Because now, si Justin Brownlee has a pending application to be a naturalized player, and his citizenship is pending in Congress. No? So that's another thing to look at. I'm sure Justin Brownlee can help our national team, no? But when he's there and available, and you have to choose between Justin Brownlee and Jordan Clarkson, sino pipiliin mo? No? At sila ba talaga kailangan natin o kailangan mo mag-naturalize ng isa pang big man para din to perform the role of maybe Andray Blatche, because Andray Blatche is getting older, or maybe to perform the role of Christian Stanhardinger. No? So it's now becoming a long-term thing. Yung naturalized player, you have to plan 5 years, maybe 10 years ahead of time, because all the rest of the other teams, that's what they do. They get players who are young, who can fit into their system, and then they naturalize them so that they can play for their national team for a longer period of time. So now, the difference from 2009 to now is now, hindi na short-term yung planning mo para sa naturalized player. Kailangan long-term na planning mo.
Si Justin Brownlee, very interesting kasi he really fell in love with the Philippine basketball scene.
Yes. And he's proven himself, not just in the PBA, but he's proven himself off the court that he can be considered almost as a Filipino na. No? And he's adapted very well to our style, to our culture. So he can be a really good candidate to be naturalized. But again, we have to answer the question. No? Siya ba talaga ang kailangan natin? No? And the other question, the other thing naman is, we can have a lot of naturalized players, and then we can just choose one. No? Hindi naman problema yun. Kasi FIBA rules allow only one naturalized player. But if we have a choice of 3 or 4, then that's even better for the national team. No?
And then, moving forward naman, coaching, do you have a dream for Philippine basketball? Now you're at this head coach post.
Well, I think we all have the same dream, no? Which is, sa akin muna, I think it's very doable, no? To look at the Asian region, assess our chances against the teams in the Asian region, and make plans for us to recapture, no, number 1 in Asia. Ang kalaban talaga natin mabigat dyan, China and Australia. I do not understand why they grouped Australia with us, because before, Australia was not grouped with us in Asia. No? And then, sinama pa yung New Zealand. No? Genetically, these people are already Europeans or Westerners. No? But again, wala tayong magagawa, nandyan na sila. No? But I think we can now set into motion, no, our plans to recapture Asian supremacy before we even think of going into the World or to the Olympics. Subukan muna natin dito sa Asia. Sa Asian Games, we almost beat Team A, national team of China. No, we only lost to them by 3 points in the Asian Games. And they had their NBA players there also. So that gave me an idea. Sabi ko, kaya pala, pwede naman pala. So if we beat China, then maybe we can go after Australia next time. No? But it's going to take a little time. No? But I don't think it's going to take too long. No? So yung Iran, the Iran team is getting older. No? Sabi ko nga, 2009 sila na eh. No? So pa-retire na si Haddadi. Pa-retire na rin yata si Nika Barami. Although they're still good at this point. So when these two players retire for Iran, ang tingin ko, they do not have anybody in the pipeline to replace these guys. So Iran is going to be in a vulnerable position. Not like the Philippines where we have young guys coming up. Itong Iran, after these two guys, baka maghihintay pa sila ng matagal before they can replace them. So it's really a good time to plan out.
And this is the good time where Kai Soto would come in.
Yes, of course, of course.
Yeah.
Not just Kai Soto, sina AJ Edu, no? Who's playing in Division 1 in the States. There are some other guys coming up, young guys. So it's really looking good for Philippine basketball.
Yan. Okay, so yeah, that's all. Thank you, Coach Yeng, and good luck on Friday.
Thank you.
So the nakaka-pressure talaga.
Sobrang pressure, pero pagdadasal na lang sana tayo ng mga kababayan natin.
Yes. Okay, so this is Rappler Talk with Coach Yeng. Thank you for tuning in.